Hi everyone, I am just Jeff here letting you know the changes that are happening to our show and why they're happening, and you might have noticed some things. I hope you stick with us while we make those changes and we continue to grow as a community, because that's the key word for me in this whole thing is community. We obviously started the podcast 6 years ago with quite a tight remit about beers and comics. We adjusted that into a sort of geekery as we brought in more people and we had more time to expand our social interactions and our culture interactions. But now we've noticed that just in the last couple of months, our lives have all kind of changed. That's maybe led to the beer and comics predominant aspect of our podcast being like diluted as we bring in other things. So I'm just going to explain changes to the show and let you know where you can engage with those changes if you want to. So we're still going to do beer, comics, and a sort of geekery, obviously, but we all drink a wee bit less. And I've noticed that there's been changes in the beer community over 6 years where we could very much focus on local independent breweries, and that's obviously lessened as financial things have happened, COVID's happened, and the mad fallout from that, and the cost of living crisis and stuff like that. A vast proportion of the breweries that we talked about weekly no longer exist. Obviously, as supermarket culture and that continues to be like the main source of where we get our things. You know, we now have craft beer idols, which we didn't have when we started the podcast. So it's not the niche product that we used to think it was. Still going to talk about beer, but it's probably going to be more. It's going to be less frequent. It's probably going to be more event based than actual individual beer based, which it has been for a long time anyway. So if you would like to have more beer content, it's loads of stuff out there. We weren't ever the sole source of craft beer related content. I would personally recommend the Lager Logs with our Brewgooder friend Stu, and also the Beer, Football and Punk Rock guys are feckin' phenomenal, so I would check them out. Comics as well. I would like to spend 2025 building up and continuing to build up our lovely network of independent creators, because that was always like our favourite part of the podcast. So if you're a creator, please get in touch. I'm going to be starting in a couple of weeks a weekly series based on whatever's happening in 2000 AD, and kind of like a British comics focused aspect of the show. It'll happen every week. With that in mind, probably the biggest change that we're doing is our move from doing the weekly show on Facebook to YouTube, and then just putting out loads of content there. So you will get a weekly show about me talking about British comics. You'll get obviously hyperlinks to our favourite beer comics related stuff, but also allow us to do some sort of beer focused stuff on the website as well, or sorry, on the YouTube page. And there are sort of geekery stuff, which has obviously kind of been as like different television streaming providers have become like vastly expanded in the last couple of years. We probably do talk more about our TV and movie output than we do about our beer and comic stuff. So we'll continue to do that as well. And we're just going to try and like break it up a wee bit so that you can get the content you want and you don't have to sit and listen to an entire hour and a half podcast for 10-20 minutes of beer stuff every so often. It'll be there, it'll be labelled, and it'll just be a bit neater for you to find. On top of that, we'll also are going to continue with our top 5 goals, because they've been quite popular. Andrew and Tom and I are going to continue to do our Brew from the Terrace, which is our beer and football stuff. We're just going to try and like basically expand all our hobbies and add that aspect of beer and just have those beer conversations in there. So I hope you stick with us as we do that. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube, where everything's going to be from now on. We're going to be shutting down our Patreon soon and doing like a YouTube fans thing there. So if you want to be one of the people that contributes to our content, that would be absolutely amazing. Just engage with us in any way, shape or form you can. This isn't the best video I've ever done by any means, but I've just spent all morning trying to put this together. I hope that's been clear. I'll do a wee quick recap just now though. So moving from Facebook to YouTube, doing more videos more frequently with specific topics instead of like just a big hour, 2 hour weekly podcast. We'll still have the weekly podcast, but it'll be shorter, and we'll have shorter, more frequent videos on things like beer, comics. We're going to keep doing Top 5 Go. We're going to do Brew from the Terrace. We're going to do the Brew Age Outlaws Wrestling Chat. We're going to do as much beer, comics, assorted geekery, football, wrestling, other stuff that total catches our eye. Me and Andrew have been long talking about doing a comedy podcast or a comedy discussion podcast, and also Stu's a massive ice hockey fan, and me and Andrew are going to try and do an exploration of Scottish ice hockey culture. So I think that'd be pretty cool as well. Also, want to keep getting as many guests and as many people, and we want to just keep building this community. We love the community that we've built in the last 6 years and want to keep it going and build it up. We want to do beer festivals and comic cons this year as well. Obviously, Thought Bubble applications are open. They've announced the dates, so we're now having a conversation about what that looks like for us this year. We've done Thought Bubble since COVID every year. All of us or some of us, so we want to do stuff like that as well. But yeah, you got any ideas, you got any suggestions, you want to contribute, you want to be a brew gooder, please get in touch. Please subscribe, like, share, all that sort of stuff. Love yous all. See yous all soon.